Okay, here we are at another Torah is for everyone. Miriam, this afternoon, or actually, it's taken me right after Shabbat, I start reading the portion for um, the next parasha, and what I'm finding is it used to be a struggle, and now I find I get so into it. And there's parts that I get so excited. I don't know if it's just these particular parts, but it's like all of a sudden, like God is opening my eyes to things. And so I decided that today I want to take my time. I know usually I like to keep it to an hour because people say that, they don't have, nobody has attention span anymore. But the attention span is like 15 seconds. So I'm not even going to begin to go there. But for us who are here, it may seem longer, but I remember we used to do a 2 hour session and we brought it down to an hour. But for people who are watching, you don't have to watch it all at once. Like, because even when I read it, I don't read it all at once. And it's so good to take the time and to stop and think about what we're reading because we just finished, we're at the base of Mount Sinai. We just finished hearing the Ten Commandments. Last week it was about the Ten Commandments. And now in Mishpatim, which comes from the word shofet, judges, the judgments, we're going to begin with applying. How do we apply the Ten Commandments to our lives? And the, and the this the these mishpatim are spoken about in something called mnemonics. Mnemonics are a way of remembering things, like it's a certain system that God gave us so that we can remember how to apply these things. And as we go along, I'll show you what that means. So let's begin. Let's take our time because it's really a very exciting and really an important. Let me share it. Really an important teaching. Here we go, Mishpatim. So, would you like to, Miriam? Would you like to read?
Okay.
Yeah. So read until if you want to take a break, go ahead. You'll
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah. These are the rules that you shall set before them. Okay, this is God talking to Moses.
This is
Wait,
God. This is Moses.
oh,
Yeah.
this is
These are the mishpatim. I guess God is speaking to Moses, and Moses is writing for us. Now, I just want you to know that every one of these mishpat, every rule, every judgment, because it says Ele mishpatim, and the chukim, which we're going to be reading about, as I said before, has to do with the 10. So let's see as we read them if you can find which of the 10 they are related to. Okay, so let's go to the first one.
okay. When you acquire a male Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years. 6 years. In the seventh year, he shall go free without payment.
So right away, we're beginning with the first commandment. I don't know if you see that, because in the first commandment, he says that I am the God who brought you out of slavery, out of bondage, out of Egypt, out of slavery. So the first thing he's dealing with us is slavery. And it was a custom of the day. People had slaves. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, people don't understand that when I watch some Charlie Kirk things and other shows where people are pretty aggressively talking about this, they don't realize that it's not saying God endorses it because they're talking about slavery. It's that is what happened at the time. And if you compare the way slaves are treated by the um, by the Israelites compared to what the pagan cultures around them, what they did, there's no comparison. So
Right.
given that like not everything that's put forth in the scriptures means God is endorsing it. He's not saying
Exactly.
we could have slaves now because they had them then.
He's
A lot of
just
people don't realize that.
exactly. He's just putting things in. We have to put things into context. It was the way of the day, and he set us free from slavery. He doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want us to go back to being slaves to anyone or anything, to any system except his, and not nor to value any type of slavery over freedom. He wants us, what he's going to be teaching us here in these regulations, in these mishpatim, are how to be responsible, to accept responsibility for our choices, and to accept that there are going to be consequences. And then he goes into the detail because slavery, as you said, it was a custom of that day. And God is so merciful. He never wrenches us away from, listen, this is what I wrote. He never wrenches us away from the pagan society in which we live, but he teaches us a better way to live within it so that we could be a light to the people around us. It's not for us to sit in judgment because we'd be judging every minute of the day, especially of ourselves. So the idea of the slave, as we're going to be reading soon, you're going to see the idea of a slave having his ear pierced denotes that he's making a public proclamation. The slave is. He doesn't want to go free. He would rather trust his earthly master than the master of the universe. And most people are like that today. So let's continue.
Yeah, just one more thing. It
Yeah,
just makes me think also when people are on not only hardcore drugs like heroin, etc., but
right,
even drugs on certain antidepressants, certain benzodiazepines like Valium, etc. You don't take them off suddenly because
right,
your body can't handle it. And this
right.
is it's almost the same thing. When you
Exactly.
change from one system to another,
Yeah,
we can't do it suddenly, and
ex
very important.
exactly. The mind has a way of holding on to things until suddenly God releases it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Uh, if he came single, he shall leave single. If he had a wife, his wife shall leave with him. If his master gave him a wife, and she has borne him children, the wife and her children shall belong to the master, and he shall leave alone. That's a bit okay. Okay, if the master gave him a wife, okay. So I
Yeah.
guess
If he came single, he'll leave single. If he had a wife, his wife is going to leave with him. But if he comes in and he's a slave, and the wife is a slave, and she has some children, he's going to leave alone. He has to make a choice. You see, some people, remember, look at the bigger picture. Don't look at it as the individual and the choices that he was making. This is why I said to you, he doesn't want us to be slaves to anything. So he's painting a picture here for us. Okay? Try to see the bigger picture.
okay. I guess if he wanted to stay,
Read the whole thing and look at the bigger picture. Don't think of a person.
okay, so tell me the bigger picture.
Well,
Just
read it first and
okay.
then we can discuss it.
All right. Okay. I love my ma okay. But if the slave declares, I love my master and my wife and children, I do not wish to go free, his master shall take him before God. He shall be brought to the door or the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall then remain his master's slave for life. Okay, I see.
Okay, so for life here, it's not going to be literally for entire life. Although it depends on his age, but usually a slave remained a slave until the year of Jubilee.
Okay.
So forever is not forever, eternity. It's for as long until the Jubilee year when they would be set free.
Okay.
Okay,
Every 50 years.
exactly.
Okay. Uh, when somebody sells their daughter as a slave, she shall not go free as other slaves do. Hmm. If she proves to be displeasing to her master, who designated her for himself, he must let her be redeemed. He shall not have the right to sell her to outsiders, since he broke faith with her. And if the master designated her for a son, he shall deal with her as is the practice with free maidens. Pretty scary, but that's another example of how things were still slowly being given to, like women were slowly being freed, because it's even worse before this.
Because the woman had no value. She was considered the lowest next to the animals. Really, so God was slowly going to be lifting her up and giving her rights. Like
Right.
here, if read this.
If he takes another to wife, he must not withhold from this one her food, her clothing, or her conjugal rights.
Now, a man is responsible for his wife. A man is responsible for his servants. I'm telling you, when you have a servant, you have to take care of that servant. You're responsible for another life, not just your own. And your wife, food, clothing, and conjugal rights. A lot of men hold these things back from their wives,
Yeah, it's
even
true.
today, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So men need to put their wives first before their own habits and their own selfish desires, because she is the mother of his progeny. This is about the bigger picture is about responsibility. God wants us responsible.
Right. If he fails her in these three ways, she shall go free without payment. One who fatally strikes another shall be put to death. If it was not by design, it came about by an act of God, I will assign you a place to which that person can flee.
So the next importance has to do with the value of life. So this is do not commit premeditated murder. This is one thing. These things are not in order of the Ten Commandments, but this goes back to that. It doesn't say you shall not kill, but says you shall not commit premeditated murder. So, not to take anyone else's life, or to lose their own. This whole idea about murder, it comes right after slavery. It's like you're killing the soul.
Right, yeah. And it's amazing how some religions and some peoples, whatever, just what you see happening in the world now, what you see in Iran right now. I was just walking the hall with Esther,
Yeah.
and she's telling me some of the things that are happening. The shooting is, well, you know what's happening, but there's absolutely no value in life.
Yeah.
Somebody comes outside to get bread and they're shot.
Yeah.
And then they find if they're
Yeah.
looking for their father or mother, all of them are shot. Like
And then
it's
yeah,
awful what's happening.
I know. I
No
know.
value for life at all.
Exactly.
Um, when one person schemes this, okay, when one person schemes against another and kills through treachery, you shall take that person from my very altar to be put to death. Sorry. One who strikes their father or mother shall be put to death.
Which commandment is this?
Well, honor your father and your mother, but also um, um, do not murder.
Exactly. So that's next in line. And then the next one is kidnapping.
One who kidnaps another, whether having sold or still holding them, shall be put to death.
Yeah, kidnapping is like putting someone again into slavery. And it's God does not want us to be slaves to anyone, and nobody has a right to steal another person. That's another one of the commandments.
Right. One who insults their father or mother shall be put to death. Like I guess, I mean that's again honor your father and your mother, but it can't mean as like what we call, as kids. I'm not proud of it, but I would talk back against, especially my mother. I remember when I was 14 and 15. And at one point, I was kind of showing off. I don't know if I were friends there, I'm not sure, but I thought I was really cool. And I said something, and she whacked me across the face. And I'll never forget that. I was so stunned, but I knew inside my soul that I had done something really wrong.
Yeah.
So, but here, one who insults their father and mother, I'm sure, well, I don't know what exactly how intense it was, but it's really it's one of the foundations of societies, and some of the better societies in the Asian cultures where honoring your father and mother is very, very important.
Yeah.
It it
And
it promotes a continuity between the parents, grandparents, and kids. So there's like a circle of life and respect and honor, and it's a nice
and
thing.
and it's also the picture of we need to honor the one who gave us life. And that's there literally next to God. God gave us life. He
Right.
breathed into us, and our parents give us life. And, there are times that we became quite sick and very depressed and very low in our lives to the point that we wanted to die. So,
Who's the we? Sorry.
the, you, me, your brother,
Okay. You're talking we. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, of course. Yeah,
some people don't realize that this is a result. It's not that someone's going to come along and put them to death, but it's almost like we are putting ourselves to death when we do these kinds of things. We are breathing death into our system when we
yeah.
dishonor our
It's
parents.
yeah. It's so anti the very fabric of life.
Yeah, it's God because God has a hierarchy at the spiritual level that we can't see. We I always say we don't understand the the essence of our soul. Only God can understand that.
Right.
Okay.
When when two parties quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or fist, and the victim does not die but has to take to bed, if the latter then gets up and walks outdoors upon a staff, the assailant shall go unpunished, except for paying for the idleness and the cure.
Okay, but here it's not really idleness. When two people get into a fight, and let's say the other one breaks a leg, and he can't work. So the person who broke his leg, the person who got into the fight, he is responsible for making sure that because the guy can't get up and go to work, maybe he's in carpentry, maybe he works as a builder and he can't go to work. He's got to make sure that he pays for all the expenses until he gets well. God
Right,
God is teaching us to be responsible. If the whole world were responsible for their neighbor, for each other, we wouldn't need insurance. We live in a world that needs insurance because there's no fault insurance now. Nobody's at fault anymore. Nobody has to pay for a crime. Even today, with this woke mentality, people are thinking that, oh, these poor criminals, we have to take care of them. It's gone too far. We're gone too far from the Torah. It's almost like punishment is no longer accepted. You're not even allowed to say no to children anymore.
I was
Teachers are
afraid to keep him in prison for a long time.
well in the Torah,
We
they're
should murder him. If they murder somebody, they gotta murder them.
exactly their life was taken. You're right, Brian. And if they killed somebody by accident, they built what's called the refuge cities so that they could go and hide out in these cities so that the families of the one that they accidentally kill could not come after them and take their own life. But basically God says if you murdered someone and you premeditated, then you need to be killed. And God is really clear about these things. But we think we know better than God, which is why we're in such a mess today.
Thanks to Saul. Good. He's the
King
one.
King
And
Saul was one. Exactly. You're right. King Saul
he
did
didn't,
not
he,
listen
he didn't do what he said. Kill everybody. Kill the kid. Kill the good horses.
because it looks like a horrible thing. How could you kill these animals? But one of the things we're going to see a little further on is God talks about bestiality because bestiality was having sex with an animal. There were pagan practices that allowed certain animals that people could have sex with certain animals as part of these Canaanite or Hittite rituals. And God said, no, He's telling us now what we can and what we cannot do.
When someone strikes their slave, male or female, with a rod, who dies there and then, this must be avenged.
Yeah, because a slave or a servant has value. They are spiritual beings created by God. They are souls. They have value.
And this is so different from what happened previously.
Yeah,
That's what it's so important to see these things in context.
exactly.
No. But if the victim survives a day or two, this is not to be avenged, since the one is the other's property. When two or more parties fight, and one of them pushes a pregnant woman, and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined according as the woman's husband may exact the payment to be based on reckoning. This is a bit, I mean, this is pretty scary, but I guess, what can you, I mean, they basically took a life.
Well, yeah, but here it says I looked it up about what they say about this, and it says a typical literal rendering is if men are fighting and they hit a pregnant woman so that either her child is born prematurely, but there's no further harm to her, that the one who hit her must pay a fine.
Oh, okay, I see. I didn't, yeah, right.
As the
Oh, it says a
woman's,
miscarriage results.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, well,
as
that's,
as the woman husband's demand. But if there is harm, in other words, then you shall give life for life. And the word for life is nephesh. It says further harm is the key phrase. It means that there was serious injury or death to someone involved. But sadly, I was looking up what the Torah says about nephesh, because the word nephesh first appears, and you talked about this before, Miriam. The word nephesh first appears in the Torah in the creation of living creatures on the fifth day in
right.
Genesis 1. In that verse, the Torah speaks of God creating swarms of living creatures. It says, Nefesh Chaya. These were referring to sea life and birds as living creatures. And then later in Genesis 2, the word is used about the first human when Adam becomes a living nephesh. God breathes life into him. It's the same expression. But the issue here has to do, see, for me, it's sad that many traditional and contemporary rabbis, the rabbinic authorities, say that the Torah does not impose a death penalty for killing what they call a fetus in this passage. And they take that as proof that abortion, while generally prohibited, is not classified as full murder under Jewish
Oh,
law.
interesting. That's they get it from here.
Yes, and that to me is very sad because to me that's not what it's saying.
Okay, so go into explain a little. Wait, okay, let me just read it again. One, you
Yeah,
push a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, which means the baby is premature. It's killed. It's like an abortion because
right.
of so well okay, so why did they do well, that doesn't say that a soul is
Let's
killed.
continue on. If other damage, let's like further harm ensues,
That would be from to her, not to the baby.
yeah,
So why it just I can see why the rabbis are saying that from this verse.
Yeah, because it looks like that. I
If you
don't.
have the miscarriage and the baby comes out, it can't grow outside. That's it. It died.
No, but the baby's been killed by the miscarriage is like,
Yeah,
a
but it's not like an abortion. It's not a
no,
premeditated
it's not
murder here.
premeditated. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. It's
yeah,
not premeditated.
yeah.
I mean, well, I
Because
guess,
I don't even think abortion existed. I don't remember reading how everything is about giving life.
yeah,
Women
I don't
try
think,
to get
I'm
pregnant.
just saying, well, you know what? Okay, some rabbis, I'm just trying to reason it out. They're looking at this verse, but it's not the complete story at this
No,
point. If you look at Psalm 139, when you see before God knew us, I mean, before God knew us in the womb, and we
exactly.
are fearfully and wonderfully made. So, I mean,
Yes,
there is an extreme respect for life.
right. Exactly.
But if other damage ensues, the penalty shall be life for life.
Nefesh for nefesh. Yeah.
Right. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. When somebody strikes the eye of their slave, male or female, and destroys it, the slave shall go free on account of the eye. Okay, I guess he can't work anymore. But wait, strikes the
Well,
eye?
well, then he's given his freedom. He's given his freedom.
Okay. I
Yeah,
mean, I guess all I can say is that was the time they lived in,
yeah,
and there were brutal times, but it
yeah,
still wasn't comparable to what was going on in other societies around them, was even worse.
yeah.
If the owner knocks out the tooth of their slave, male or female, the slave shall go free on account of the tooth.
I'm sure he'd be happy to lose his tooth for his
Yeah,
freedom.
right. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox shall be stoned. Whoops, you made it too far.
Sorry.
No, okay. Shall be stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox is not to be punished. It's strange that the ox is to be stoned, and its flesh, it's like even the ox is kind of guilty. They don't even want to eat it.
Well, imagine the owner, how he's feeling.
I guess, yeah. Anyway, the
That
ox shall not.
yeah, because this ox could be, what pulls his cart, the plow to to feed his family. It's
Yeah. Well,
not a pet. It's a working animal.
no, it's a working animal, but
Yeah,
he's the ox is to be stoned.
which is punishment enough.
Was punishment enough for him?
Yeah.
Maybe he's not being careful enough with his to keep his ox, not
No, that's coming next.
okay. Well, like
Yeah.
not to be keep it tied up or whatever.
We hear, however, if the ox has been in the habit of goring,
And its owner, though warned, has failed to guard it, and it kills a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and its owner too shall be put to death. That's like the dog. Remember, we knew
exactly.
that dog that killed one of our people's dog
Yeah,
caused such pain.
yeah, had to be put down.
Right.
But here, the owner also had the
Okay.
yeah,
I,
it says the ox shall be stoned, and its owner too shall be put to death.
wow.
The owner of that dog who allowed him to, but here it didn't kill him, but it could have.
Right.
Yeah.
If ransom is imposed to redeem the owner's life, whatever is imposed must be paid. Uh, so too, if it gores a minor, male or female, it shall be dealt with according to the same rule. But if the ox gores a slave, male or female, its owner shall pay 30 shekels of silver to the master, and the ox shall be stoned. When
You okay?
someone opens a pit or digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the one responsible for the pit must make restitution, paying the price to the owner but keeping the dead animal.
Look how responsible we needed to be. I mean, this right now, when I drive on some city streets, it's not that my ox or my donkey fall into it, but let me tell you, my car has gone into holes, and I remember when our rabbi drove into a pit. The whole right side of his car was damaged,
Right.
but when he went to the city and told them about it, they don't care. They didn't
No,
care. They're
no.
not responsible.
Okay. When someone's ox injures a neighbor's ox and it dies, they shall sell the live ox and divide its price. They shall also divide the dead animal. But why don't they, if their ox should be given to the other person, no? When somebody's ox injures a neighbor's ox, they shall sell the live ox. Okay, anyway, okay. Anyway, it's about being responsible for your actions. That's true. If, however, it is known that the ox was in the habit of goring and its owner has failed to guard it, that party must restore ox for ox, but shall keep the dead animal. When somebody steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, 5 oxen shall be paid for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. Yeah, this is just punishment for stealing.
Right?
Thou shalt not steal.
Exactly.
You want to continue for the chapter? I'll take it.
Sure. I just want to, as you're reading, I'm looking at my notes, so I don't want to miss anything. If the thief is seized while tunneling and beaten to death, there is no blood guilt in that case. If the son is already ridden,
What's
there,
tunneling?
um, let's see what,
Digging?
yeah, digging under the wall to break into a house here,
Oh,
under a
okay.
wall for house breaking,
Okay.
and beaten to death, there's no blood guilt in that case. If
Okay.
if the sun had already risen, there is blood guilt in that case. The thief must make restitution, and if lacking the means, shall be sold for the theft. These things. I don't know how to relate it to today, honestly. But I guess in all these cases, they would have understood it very clear. And if anyone wants to understand a little more, you can do research and see what the rabbis say. What was life during that period of time? But basically, in general, we have to understand that God was changing our behavior. There's going to be 3 ways of looking at it. We have to remember who our God is, how how he wants a relationship with us, how we are to love ourselves and treat ourselves, and how we're to treat our neighbors. So all these are examples of how to treat our neighbor. If what was stolen, whether ox or donk, is found alive and in hand, that person shall pay double. If someone, if someone breaks into your house and steals, if they steal your pet dog, they got to give you back your 2 dogs. They have to make restitution.
I
If some,
guess, when you think of some of the movies, well, I'm thinking of some of them, some of the renditions have really been good, but the Tarzan, for example,
yeah,
when one of them really made me laugh, but when Tarzan was slowly reintegrated into society, I think had been an earl or something, but then whatever happened, I don't remember the whole story.
yes,
But slowly, he's only slowly because how could it was like going to the moon, coming back to society. Here he was in the forest.
Earl Greystone.
What's this? Great.
Greystone,
Earl of Greystone.
Yeah.
yeah,
So slowly had to be integrated, but still things. I remember at one point, he's dancing, these sort of old-fashioned dancing where you're bowing and you dance. And I don't know, what was that? 1700s or something, very polite sort of
Early
dance.
1900s.
What's this?
Early 1900s.
1900, more like not
Yeah, early
1900.
1900s.
Anyway, it's earlier than that.
No,
When
no, it's in that area.
I thought they were, anyway, it doesn't, my
Yeah,
point, I
yeah,
remember one thing that cracked me up. He's dancing, very elegant dance with the whole, in the ballroom with all the earls and the whatever, and they're like circling and circling. And then slowly, some, like a reminiscence, like things come back to him. He's slowly learning to be civilized, but he starts to make these very at first imperceptible sounds. Then it got louder and louder, and I was cracking up. He starts to go, like, because people are going, wee, wee, making some sounds, and he starts to go, whoo. Then he goes, whoo, 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 like a bit louder and
like the
louder. And he's
chimpanzees.
a little bit, and he's
Yeah,
circling like that, and
yeah,
you can't hear it. And you start to hear it, and I started to crack up. It's like he still hadn't fully pulled away from what he had been part of. So I
right.
see Israel is still pulling away from, you know, some horrible things, even
Yes,
sacrificing their kids. Like, so God, it had to be gradual. So I see
exactly.
the Tarzan thing, and
Yeah,
it's
that's,
very
that's
funny.
a very good picture, Miriam. I love it. When someone who owns livestock lets it loose to graze in another's land and allows the field or vineyard to be grazed bare, restitution must be made for impairment of that field or vineyard. That makes sense. When a fire is started and spreads to thorns so that stacked, standing, or growing grain is consumed, the one who started the fire must make restitution. Even, I heard that someone had started one of the fires in California and that destroyed so many homes. That man, destroyed lives. How is it possible that he could ever make restitution? He would probably have to spend the rest of his life in jail or be put to death. Honestly,
Did they catch him?
you know what, it's quite a while ago now, but I think
Right,
so.
okay.
Yeah, I think so. When one person gives money or goods, and it probably, who knows why he started? Maybe it was a joke or, kids playing, whatever. But people have to understand when we do certain things, it's going to affect others. When one person gives money or goods to another for safekeeping, and they are stolen from that person's house, if caught, the thief shall pay double. If the thief is not caught, the owner of the house shall bring it before God and deny lay, laying hands on the other's property. I don't know what this means.
He's watching it, but he doesn't touch it.
If the thief is
If
not,
thieves in the owner of the house shall go before God.
I guess to say that he didn't steal the money.
Yeah, deny laying hands. Yeah, he himself is denying the laying hand.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
in all charges of misappropriation pertaining to an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other loss, whereof one party alleges this is it, the case of both parties shall come before God. The one whom God declares guilty shall pay double to the other. This is the foundation of our legal system. And I remember a rabbi was saying that each case needed to be presented for what it's on its own merit,
Right.
not to make precedents depending on somebody else's situation, but each situation had to be examined on its own merit. And that's why Moses was told by Jethro, his father-in-law, Yitro, to choose honest men, just men, men of truth, men who loved God, to sit and judge some of these things, because there were a lot of cases that they had to present, one against another, and people needed to learn to have compassion, to be responsible, to care for others, to care for the widow, the orphan, and the stranger among us. These are the basic principles that these are contained in. When one person gives to another a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animal to guard, and it dies or is injured and is carried off with no witness about, an oath before God shall decide between the two of them that the one has not laid hands on the property of the other, and the owner must acquiesce and no restitution be made. So basically, you need to trust that a person is going to tell the truth.
Right.
But if the animal was stolen, restitution shall be made to the owner. If it was torn by beasts, the guardian shall bring it as evidence, not needing to replace what was torn by beasts. When one person borrows an animal from another and it dies or is injured, its owner not being with it, restitution must be made. If its owner was with it, no restitution need be made, but if it was hired, that payment is due. If a man seduces a virgin for whom the bride price has not been paid, in other words, she's not engaged, and he lies with her, he must make her his wife by paying the bride price. But if her father refuses to give her to him, he must still weigh out the silver in accordance with the bride price for virgins. And then immediately afterwards, it says, "You shall not tolerate a sorceress." This is a case of what Rabbi was talking about, mnemonics. In other words, in that time, a sorceress or a witch, people would go to them to have, to kind of bring knowledge or wisdom from the spiritual realm in order to find out something about their future, something about. So, and God told us, don't go to sorcerers or sorceress, but the sorceress in those cultures needed to be a virgin. I've seen this over and over again, even in the movies that they do about more modern sorceresses. They had to be virgins. They could not be have ever been with a man because that would destroy their connection with the
Spirits.
spiritual realm.
So are you saying how this relates to the previous, he must have, okay, like, it
I'm
could be
saying
that
that
this was a sorceress.
the sorceress relates to the virgin in the
Okay,
culture.
so it could be, okay, but are you saying that the one who he's, you know, who he takes basically could have been a sorceress?
No,
You're not saying there's, because you
no,
just said immediately there's a relationship. So
yeah, but it has nothing to do with.
nothing to do with that. Okay.
No, it had to do with the sorceress being a virgin.
It's so strange, like it's only so much good and bad has happened in the passage of time. Like we've gone, like the pendulum has swung to a crazy, crazy place vis-a-vis women. Like, we're not honoring what God has given men and women, the differences that God has given us, even if within just one sex, like just being a woman, you could be so different from another woman. But like you see here, how like women are like, that would be insane to have this happen today. But you have to see maybe the context even of this verse to dealing with virgins, etc. There's always been some sort of not magic, but mystical thing about virginity. And I don't know if in the surrounding cultures, if they had certain rites and things to do with virgins. You know what I mean? For some of the pagan cultures, you had to, part of the whole religious ritual involved sleeping with a virgin, blah, blah, blah. So I guess I'm just wandering, but so much has to do with virginity, good and bad in the cultures of that time. Anyway, it's just a diversion. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how to relate it to
Well,
everything.
yeah. Well, I know that it was important when somebody was given in marriage, it was important for them to be a virgin. We've lost that today
No,
because
that's a good thing, but
that's a very good thing.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But how a lot of the cultures and even undeveloped, what God is teaching us, um, virginity had a mystical quality and they were used as part of religious rites,
Right.
etc. But
Right.
what God meant, the pure thing that God meant, He meant for both men and women to be virgins. A
Right.
lot of cultures, including Judaism,
Live and let die with the witch.
What?
And live and let die,
Any
the sorceress, before she got with James Bond, she could tell where he was going. He's getting on the plane, you know. But after he had relationship with her, she couldn't tell her boss
Yeah.
where he is.
Yeah, exactly. Because they say they lose their powers once they lost their virginity.
But I mean, God's original plan was actually men and women were to be before God. They were not to be, they were to be virgins, both of
Yeah,
them. But
right,
now we've gone to crazy extremes, and satanic cults use virgins. Made an they've switched what God meant, and made it mystical and cultish and blah blah blah.
right,
And some religions, including even Judaism, they kind of take away that from the man. And believe it or not, I know wouldn't be the same, a woman or a man. A woman will suffer more when she has sexual relations before marriage, but a man too, it takes away some of his um the woman is not viewed in the same if you're just sleeping around, like for a man even.
right,
It lessens what God really meant.
right. And we don't understand, the connection between two souls when they come together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
A very spiritual interaction.
exactly. Because we think it's become like eating a meal. Having sex has become like eating a meal. And it's the spiritual aspect of the connection between these two souls. Whoever lies with an animal shall be put to death. That was part, of these pagan cultures of the day. Whoever and basically everything here is he's always showing here whoever sacrifices to a god other than the eternal alone shall be destroyed. You shall not oppress, wrong, or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
That's
So,
always fascinated me, that line. Like we're so like we were strangers. We weren't
yeah.
even we were called Israelites, I guess, at that point, but we were strangers.
Yeah, here it says, Ki gerim. We were strangers in the land of Egypt, which is why he's always bringing us back to that idea to remember we have to treat others with value, that even the weakest of people had no value in those cultures, but God was teaching us to care for the weakest among us. The stranger was one of them. Look, and the next line, you shall not mistreat the widow or the orphan. So it's always we needed to take care of the widow, the orphan, and the stranger among us. Those were those who were the most vulnerable in society. And that's why God had this problem not that he had a problem, but that's why he went to, said what he did against Amalek, because those were the ones that were attacked in the rear, the widow, the orphan, the stranger, the weakest among us. If you do mistreat them, I will hear their heed, I will listen to their outcry as soon as they cry out to me, and my anger shall blaze forth, and I will put you to the sword, and your own wives shall become widows, and your children orphans. I mean, this is very powerful. This was powerful. The thing I thought about this was if if we mistreat them like the pagan nations, if we mistreat widows, orphans, and the stranger among us, he's talking to us now as Israel. I will heed their cry. I will heed the cry of these who are the weakest, and my anger shall blaze forth, and I will put you to the sword, and your own wives shall become widows. You know, I hate to keep repeating this, but today everyone is crying out, oh, he's an anti Semite. Oh, they hate us, anti Semitism, when the nations turn against us. But I believe here that the Torah is teaching us that any human, anyone, Jew or Gentile, who goes against God's commands suffers what they do. And here he's saying, if you do that, I will put you to the sword, and your own wives shall become widows if you mistreat widows. And if you mistreat orphans, your own children will be orphans, will be mistreated. It's we are today modern Israelites, and we are called. God is showing us that we would be called to a higher standard. We were to be the example to the rest of the world of what it is to walk with God. That's why he's giving us these Mishpatim to help us know how to apply the Ten Commandments and how to make a decision to choose right from wrong in every single decision that we make today. If you lend money to my people, to the poor among you, do not act toward them as a creditor. Exact no interest. We're not allowed to charge interest if we lend money to someone. If you take your neighbor's garment, his clothes that let's say he needs to go to work in, you must return it before the sun sets. It's all he has. It's what covers his skin. What else shall they sleep? Therefore, if your neighbor cries out to me, I will hear them, for I am compassionate. And he wants us to be compassionate.
I love that line. So many people keep saying, they say the Old Testament God was uh, uh, angry and judgmental. Here, compassionate. He's just and he's compassionate.
Exactly. People don't love tough love. And that's one of the problems that we're seeing all over the world right now. You shall not revile God. Don't hate God, nor put a curse on a leader among your people. You shall not put off skimming of the first yield of your vats. You shall give me the male firstborn among your children. So he's always going to be speaking about the first fruits. Always give the best. Whatever you give, even if you give something to someone, give your best. Whatever you give me your best. That's the firstborn male among our children are the ones who are going to keep the generations going. Not the female, the male. Today they've changed that. You shall do the same with your cattle
Wait,
and your flock.
what do you mean they've changed that?
Today it's the firstborn female. Today
Um,
the generations are judged by who is your mother, not the
oh, but I didn't think this is referring to that. It says, you shall give me the male firstborn. Isn't that when they're redeemed, the pigeon a ben, whatever?
yes. But the
So,
idea also is it's going to be the male because it's the male who is the one who's considered who our generations will come from.
okay. But what does it mean, you shall give me? I'm just not sure what that means.
Well, it's like offer to me the first male firstborn among your children because the the
To bless the,
the Egyptians try to kill the firstborn male,
right,
and that's who he killed with them. In the plague, it was the firstborn that was
right.
killed. Um, it was
Also the blessing or
the blessing.
Right.
It comes through the male, the firstborn male. The he's the one that um, I'm not good at explaining this part,
Was it the
honestly.
birthright? I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, I sort of know what it
opinion of
means.
Ben. Yeah, just to get the idea um, of what is important in God's eyes. It's going to come through the male. That's how I see it anyway.
Okay.
You shall do the same with your cattle and your flocks. 7 days, their male firstborn shall remain with its mother, and on the eighth day give it to me.
It should be circumcised.
That's exactly it. You shall be holy people to me, and you must not eat flesh torn by beasts in the fields. You shall cast it to the dogs.
No roadkill.
No roadkill. Here, you must not carry false rumors. That's number 9. You shall not join hands with the guilty to act as a malicious witness. It says here, lo tisha shma shav. You shall not make a false report or false rumors. And the 3rd commandment says, lo tisha et shem Adonai Elohecha lashav. Almost the same words as you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. That's how can you relate to false rumors, false reports, saying things that are just not true. It's almost exactly the same words. You shall neither side with the mighty to do wrong. You shall not give perverse testimony in a dispute so as to pervert it in the favor of the mighty, nor shall you show deference to a poor person in a dispute. In other words, don't side with somebody who's either too great or too poor because of, they're oh, poor them. Let's do something special for them. Always has to be justice and truth. When you encounter your neighbors, your enemy's ox or donkey wandering, you must take it back. When you see the donkey of your enemy lying under its burden and would refrain from raising it out of wherever it is, you must nevertheless help. What, Brian? Brian, did you say something?
Nothing.
Okay, I'll put you on mute. Sorry. So when you see the donkey, you have to, even if you don't like your neighbor, but you see that they need help, help them. It's going to do something to open their hearts. God wants us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves because we're all made in God's image. But God tends to put these things in our hearts, and He helps us to practice them. You shall not subvert the rights of your needy in their dispute. Keep far from a false charge. Do not bring death on those who are innocent and in the right, for I will not acquit the wrongdoer. Do not take bribes, for bribes blind the clear-sighted and upset the pleas of those who are right. Do not oppress the stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourself been strangers in the land of Egypt. God is going to continuously remind us to remember this story of Egypt, because the pattern of it will be repeated throughout our history. 6 years you shall sow your land and gather in its yield. But in the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow. Let the needy among your people eat of it, and what they leave let the wild beasts eat. You shall do the same with your vineyards and your olive groves. 6 days you shall do your work. The 7th day you shall cease from labor, in order that your ox and your donkey may rest, and that your homeborn slave and stranger may be refreshed. So this introduces the Shemitah, and then it talks about the Shabbat. Shabbat was given us as a sign that we serve a living God, not lifeless idols. The land is also, the Shemitah, the land is also a living thing. And this particular piece of land was chosen by God for reasons we can't understand. It's been inhabited by pagan cultures, which He was now replacing with the people that He chose for His reasons. We were being separated from paganism, starting with Abram. We had to learn how to treat the land with respect and honor. because it was a gift from the Creator. This small piece of real estate depicts the entire planet. And like this new nation would represent the rest of the nations before the Creator. So everything is a picture of what God is doing in our lives. And the bottom line is trusting God, for He provides everything for us. And here it says, cease from your labor in order that your ox and donkey, so your animals needed to rest, and your homeborn slave needed to rest, and the stranger among you needed to rest. This is really important. And we're not doing that today. We say that if we own a business, we'll leave it to the workers. They're not Jewish, they can work. But that's not what the Torah says. And we pay for this. We don't realize. That's why I get so, I don't know, my heart is broken because we've made our own traditions. Last night I was watching, for some reason I turned to Fiddler on the Roof again. And I was weeping through this movie. And one of the things that I was weeping about was, you know, he sings about tradition, tradition. And at one point, he's teaching the people who are watching. He says, these are the tzitzit to remember God, and this is the keep on my head. Why do we do it? He says, I don't know. Tradition. But they make human traditions have replaced God's tradition. And here, what is God saying? Be on guard concerning all that I have told you. Don't mention the names of other gods. They shall not be heard on your lips. We've even made some of our religious leaders into gods. We've run to the graves of very famous rabbis and almost waiting for emanations of power to come out from the grave. They even have said that this Rabbi Schneerson has been reincarnated into another young man who's ready to take over as the Messiah. These are superstitions, and they don't belong with the words that our God is giving us. And because of that, we suffer. And that's hard for us to acknowledge. It's hard to say and it's hard to acknowledge, but we're doing it. And he says 3 times a year, it says, tachog li, a hug for me. Observe the feast of unleavened bread. That's at Pesach. As I've commanded you. And the word is, I think it says matzot, yeah. For 7 days, not 8 days, 7 days. At the seventh set time in the month of Aviv, that's our first month, for in it you went forth from Egypt, and no one shall appear before me empty-handed. If we go to visit someone, we bring a gift. Bring something before our God. At the Feast of the Harvest, with Shavuot, the first fruits of what you sow, the Feast of the Ingathering at the end of the year, Sukkot, when you gather in the result of your work from the field. See, it says here, the Feast of Ingathering, Sukkot. And when is it? The end of the year. What did we make it? The beginning of the year. Do you see what we do?
Never realized that like I knew that the year was not what Nissan is usually or Aviv or Nissan
Yeah,
is the new year really, and I
yeah,
never saw it that way. But here it says it's the end of the year.
yeah,
Feast of Ingathering is the Sukkot is the end of the year, and we make it the beginning of the year.
exactly. And then we wonder why. That's why it says our people are being destroyed for lack of knowledge, because we're not doing. And we said, and we will say again here, all that you say we will do. We said it. God didn't ask us to say that. 3 times a year, all your males shall appear before the sovereign God. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with anything that has chametz, which is represents our pride. And here the fat of my offerings represents everything that he's given us. Don't don't take it for granted. Remember what he's doing. The choice first fruits of your soil you shall bring to the house of the eternal your God. So the best of everything, bring it to the house. Bring it to your places of worship or where we go. And then immediately, you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. What does this have to do with all these first fruits? Again, he's painting a picture through words. Pagans would offer their children in rituals to appease their gods. And superstition comes from paganism. It has no place in learning to trust God. This had to do with, it says there was a pagan ritual of eating a calf boiled in the cow's milk so that the person who could not have a child become fertile. It had nothing to do with the Hebrews not eating milk and meat together. This is a rabbinic construct. And the danger is that my people who I love the idea that I belong to a wonderful community, but they are putting words, we are putting words in the mouth of the Creator that He never asked us to do. And there are consequences for that when we do them. When we experience the consequences, we cry out, oh, it's anti-Semitism. But we are the ones bringing the enemy upon us, whether we like it or not. That's what the Torah says. That's the frustration when we read the words of God. And here it says, here's another theological construct that's about to come. I am sending an angel before you to guard you on the way, to bring you to the place that I've already made. Christianity has made this angel the pre-incarnated Jesus Christ. But here, this is in the present tense. God is saying, Malach can be an angel, yes, but it can also be a messenger to guard you on the way, to lead you through the desert, to bring you to the place that I made, that I'm prepared for you in Canaan. Listen to him. Obey him. Don't defy him. He can't pardon your offenses. It's my name that does that. Who is this? Miriam?
Sorry, what? Who is what?
Who's the messenger?
What who is the messenger?
Yeah,
I'm sending
I'm
well,
sending a messenger
yeah.
to guard you.
It's not Jesus Christ.
No, who is it?
Me. No, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm sending an angel before the
I'm sending a messenger to guard you on the way. Who took us through the desert?
Moses.
Exactly.
Right.
This is not future. It's present. I'm sending you this messenger. He's going to lead you the way. He knows the way through the desert. He's already been 40 years in Midian. He's bringing you back to the land that I prepared for you.
But
Listen to
isn't
him.
he? But he's already been sent.
Exactly.
No, but
We are
he's
about to enter the 40 years in the desert, Miriam. I'm
all
sending
right.
you. He's telling us. And
But
he's going to tell us what to do. He's writing down the Torah. He's teaching us the whole on the way.
right.
And
Yeah.
if you obey him and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies.
And he says, go back again where it says, do not defy him, for he will not pardon your offenses, since my name is in him. But my name is in him doesn't make him a God. It means,
No.
so that's what,
And he can't pardon your offenses because
right,
only God can do that.
right.
And if you obey him, if you obey this leader who I sent and do everything that I tell you because I'm giving him instructions, I will be an enemy to your enemies. That's all he's asking us to do. You don't have to fight your enemies. I will fight them.
Right, right.
And when my messenger goes before you and he's bringing you to this land where now all these pagan people are living there, I will annihilate them. And don't bow down to their gods and worship to follow their practices. Tear their idols down, smash their pillars to bits. You shall serve the eternal your God, who will bless your bread and your water, and I will remove illness, sickness. And it's more than sickness. The word that is used here, let me see if I can find it again. I will remove sickness. Um, I think it's this one here. Sorry. Let me close this. I wrote it down. Um, yeah, the word is machala. Not only does it mean sickness, it means grief. It means sorrow. I will remove sorrow from your midst, grief from your midst, physical sickness, spiritual and emotional sickness, if you serve the eternal your God. Because he's the one who blesses the food that I give you and the water that I provide for you. In other words, all the provision. No woman in your land shall miscarry or be infertile. I will let you enjoy the full number of your days. I will send forth my terror before you, and I will throw into panic all the people among whom you come, and I will make all your enemies turn and run before you. I will send plagues ahead of you, and they shall drive before you the Hittites, the Canaanites, and the Hivites. But I won't drive them out in a single year, because the land would become desolate, and wild beasts would multiply, and that would be a harm for you. But I will drive them out before you little by little, until you have increased and possessed the land. I will set your borders from the Sea of Reeds to the Sea of the Philistines, from the from the wilderness of the Euphrates, from the river to the sea. Who's chanting the river to the sea these days?
Yeah, the all the pro-Palestinian people and
All the
all
pro-Gazans.
the
Guess what?
pro-Gazans and
That's not what God says.
no,
I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hands, and you will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them and their gods. I mean, it doesn't mean that if there is someone like a Ruth who turns to our God, that we can't marry her. But don't make a covenant with the cultures and their gods. They shall not remain in your land, because they may cause you to sin against me. For you will serve their gods, and it will prove a snare to you. Then Moses was told, come up to God with Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel, and bow low from afar. Moses alone shall come near God, but the others shall not come near, nor shall the people come up with him. Moses went and repeated to the people all God's commands and all the rules. And all the people answered with one voice, saying, all the things that God has commanded, we will do. We said that before, and we're saying it again. So when we say today, I will do all that you command, we are taking on a huge responsibility. But God will help us do it if we really have it in our heart to do it. Moses then wrote down, he wrote all of God's commandments, all of his words, his sentences that he had heard. And early in the morning, he set up an altar at the foot of the mountain with 12 pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he designated some men, helpers, among the Israelites. And they offered burnt offerings and sacrificed bulls as offerings of shalamim, thanksgiving, wellness, shalom to God. Moses took one part of the blood and put it in bases, and the other part of the blood he sprinkled against the altar. Then he took the record of the covenant and read it aloud to the people. And they said, again, all that God has spoken, we will do, we will hear, and we will, it says here, na'aseh, which is do, vanishma, and we will hear. So we're going to do it and we're going to hear it. This is what they say, but we need to not follow blindly. We need to hear what he says and then do it. Moses took the blood and dashed it on, sprinkled it on the people, and said, this is the blood of the covenant that God now makes with you concerning these commandments. This covenant of the 10 commandments, that's our constitution. Then Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel ascended. I love this part. And they saw the God of Israel,
This is incredible.
under whose feet was the likeness of a pavement of sapphire, like the very sky for purity. I feel sad that I don't have the fullness of the Hebrew language to truly understand what this means. I know purity means tahor, our cleanliness before God. It's absolutely
Sapphire, what a beautiful image.
gorgeous. I love sapphire.
Yeah.
God did not raise a hand against the leaders of the Israelites, and they beheld God, and they ate, and they drank. And God said to Moses, come up to me on the mount, and wait there, and I will give you the stone tablets with the teachings and commandments that I have inscribed to instruct them. I've heard Rabbi say that Moses didn't, that he was a wise man and that he was the one who wrote them. But here God is very clear. He's saying, I inscribed them in order to instruct them. That's what the Torah is about, instruction. So Moses and his attendant, the one who would come after him, Joshua, arose, and Moses ascended the mountain of God. To the elders he had said, wait here for us until we return to you. You have Aaron and Hur with you. Let anyone who has a legal matter approach them. When Moses had ascended the mountain, the cloud covered the mountain. The presence of God settled on Mount Sinai, and the cloud hid it for 6 days. On the 7th day, Moses was called from the midst of the cloud. Now the presence of God appeared in the sight of the Israelites as a consuming fire on the top of the mountain. Moses went inside the cloud and ascended the mountain, and Moses remained on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Very powerful. Hi, Jerry, you're at the beach. You're not on the mountain. Hello, Richard. This to me is just there's a lot of things that I don't have all the answers for because I don't know fully the culture of the day. But it's for us to really to step back and just get the principles of what God wants from us. He wants to be our God and to give us a code of life to live by. And then no one can touch us. No sickness can touch us. Oh, there you go. Up on that mountain. Beautiful, Jerry. Love it. And when he does, I can't tell you the type of things that happen to me because I read and I want and I say, Hineni, God, use me. Like yesterday, several things happened. I needed a new pair of glasses, and I had prescription, the progressives made, and I have trouble getting used to progressives, especially when I walk down the stairs, or when I watch TV. I'm sitting and watching like this. I can't see, so I called to have a pair of glasses made with the guy who made my progressives, and he was just going out of town. So I was going to go back to my old optician. He was very good, but he's very expensive. And I made an appointment and I ended up having to cancel. Something came up. Then I made another appointment the following week and again something happened. I had to cancel. So by this time, the first guy was back from his vacation. So I called him and told him what I needed to do. He says, okay, just bring them in. I brought a pair of old frames that I have. And I said, I just need glasses to be able to see the TV. Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll give you TV glasses. You know what? No charge. He didn't charge me. Oh, what? Really? You're not charging me? When someone does something like that would have cost me about $177. That was the bill he gave me. 177 erased. No charge. And I said, you know, you can't outgive God. The more I give to others, the more I even give to our community, the more I see the blessings just pouring in. And the more I learn to trust him, the more I learn I can trust him. And that's why it's so important for us to read these verses, even if we don't understand everything, because each time we'll understand just a little bit more. So he's teaching us he's the only God for all peoples, Jew and Gentile. There are no other gods. If you're superstitious about something, be careful because that's pagan. There's so many things we can learn from this. And the more we have a desire to be compassionate, to love others, the more God puts that in us. He increases it in many ways, physically, emotionally, spiritually. He works with us at all levels. So we're not teaching a religion here. We're teaching halakha, not rabbinic halakha. Moses' halakha. How do we walk with the God of Israel? That's what we're teaching. Miriam, any final words?
Mm, no, it's just amazing to me, like when I read that about the sapphire and like that's not just a story. Like there is a spiritual realm
Yeah,
and it mixes with our very human realm.
right.
It's not just abstractions.
Exactly. And it's impossible to be able to understand a God who has no beginning and no end, who can create, as we see behind you, Jerry, those clouds and the lightning and the thunder, and Moses going up on the mountain receiving the commandments that really are all we need to know how to treat our neighbor and as ourselves and how to love ourselves. So thank you for being with me tonight, and I look forward to hearing our rabbi's message on Shabbat, on Mishpatim, and God willing, we will see you again next week when we look at Tilma. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.